All right, everybody. Welcome in another episode of Third and Teal. I'm your host, Isaiah. We got another face on the show. Got another special guest. We got Jags United. I'll let you go first today, man. How are you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Oh man, my pleasure, man. I love it. This is awesome. I will say I've been doing this for a number of years now. This is the earliest I've ever done a recording or a show before. So I'm hoping it's the same, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of thrown for a loop, but I'm ready to do it. Maybe it'll be better. So appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, again, thanks for coming on. We got our boy Trevor. How you doing, Trevor?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm having a great day, especially because you agreed to come on, man, and that's big because people like you in the community are already established, especially yourself, UCF, Jordan, so on and so forth, and the show that you guys are putting together. We really respect the show you guys have, the following you have, the views and like response and engagement you get. We can only hope and aspire to become something like that. We're seeing great numbers, and shout out to you guys for continuing to show love and liking and commenting and supporting and subscribing. But just even bigger shout out to you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, dude, I was telling you guys before we recorded, I watched your last episode. I loved it. I was like, yeah, these are my type of guys. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Sweet, man. Yeah, hell yeah. All right, Eric, how you doing, brother?
Peace out. I'm good. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we let Trevor
Mr.
cover
Talk,
everything.
and that's all you contribute to the intro, and your name's Mr. Talk?
Hey.
Have to keep them wondering.
There are times. There are times.
Hey, you pull the cork out, you're not getting it back. If he's just like me. You pull that cork out.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, we're here to talk football, Jaguar football, the Falcons game. I predicted one thing as a joke. I said Ryan Nielsen as the defensive coordinator, we shut him out. I said that'd be hilarious. In fact, it was hilarious. From top to bottom, first to last, it was beautiful. 31-0. Had a couple of big defenders, offenders. Everybody was out there playing football, and I really enjoyed it from top to bottom. There's a couple people that I wanted to see, and then I was like, maybe I don't want to see more of them. And there were a couple people that I was like, I don't really like them. And they played, and I'm like, damn, maybe I do like them. So, what do you guys? We can kick it off. Jags United. Let's kick it off with you, brother. Who did you see out there that you were like, I like to see more of this, or maybe somebody you were like, I don't really know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Trevor Lawrence. That's the easy answer. I mean, I tweeted, I don't think it could have gone any better as far as what we were expecting. Starters dominated, nobody got injured, and you saw little things here and there, like Parker Washington. Like I forgot about Christian Kirk for like 3 quarters until they mentioned him. I was like, oh crap, I forgot about Christian Kirk. Like looked like the offense didn't even need him. I know quality of opponent wasn't there, but thought they looked great. Some of those fringe wide receivers, kind of hoping to see more out of. Wasn't, Elijah Cooks, he could have played his way on the team, I think, if he'd played a little bit better. Tim Jones could have probably secured his spot. We know Cephas, didn't really do as much as he wanted to do. The defensive back, I kind of wanted to see some of those guys step up a little bit more too. Not saying they played bad, but it did kind of seem like some of the pass breakups were more drops. And I'm still hopeful for this defense. I haven't quite seen it, come to fruition like I would hope it would have. But I think I was as happy as you can be when you watch a starting lineup play a reserve lineup, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think one thing for Trevor too, and I know Trevor is gonna talk about Trevor. I know that's his player of the game, but I think one thing, I was talking to somebody about it, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, Trevor looked good. He was playing backups." I'm like, okay, but like, backups are not throwing the ball in the back of the end zone over a grown man into a perfect window where only your tight end can get up and catch it twice. I mean, the touch. I think one thing for me, and I mentioned this to the guys during the game, I think we saw Trevor throw with a touch we haven't seen him throw with since coming into the league, or at least not consistently. So I did like to see that. I feel like we didn't see enough Cephas, and I think that might be indicative of maybe they don't think he's the guy, or he's going to stick around, or maybe they think that they don't need to see as much out of him and they needed to see more out of Trammell and Cooks and those guys. The Cooks touchdown, I'm going to say it. The ball did a complete rotation. He kept the ball in, but I'm just saying I'd have been pissed if that was the other team and they kept that one, because all the way around. I was like, okay, but whatever. Jaguars touchdown. Mac Jones looked good. But yeah, I feel you. Trevor, go ahead. I know you just want to. You're gonna talk about Trevor Lawrence and every single throw he had. So you take it away.
I don't know if I'll go into every single throw, but I can say though, like one
Go
thing
get
I'll
close.
add, it wasn't 2 times that he put it perfectly where only his receiver / tight end could get it. Gabe Davis just dropped one. That was a grown man play for Gabe Davis to make, and
That's
he let
true.
that slip through his hands because that would have been 3 times that he literally threaded the needle to only the hands he intended it to. And one thing I will say, like you're absolutely right, the quality of opponent was kind of absent, but at the same time too, what the Jaguars were lacking was we never got into a rhythm, no matter what quality of opponent we played last year. It felt like, or especially our post Trevor injury, and actually even pre-injury, we were still skating by games. Even when we were 8-3 and in the lead, everybody was still on the edge of their seat, kind of waiting for when are we going to plateau or fall off because we're not closing games like we should be. Like there were plenty of games I can remember we just let people hang around and barely pulled it out. But what you saw, Friday night against the Falcons was an offense that was efficient at every turn. Every facet of the game was efficiency. Now, obviously, not every play is going to succeed. Not every play is a home run hitter. But every time we schemed something up, whether it happened that specific play or the very next one, we got what we wanted to done. And we kept that rhythm and maintained it. And that was the biggest thing, too, was like Trevor last year could come on and have a drive where everyone's on fire and come out the next drive and they fall flat on their face and be like, where did the guys that were just out here 20 minutes ago go? Like, where did these guys go? As far as speaking on Trevor's like touch, it's absolutely, I think, a new level that we have never seen from Trevor Lawrence. We've seen it that he has the touch. He can throw a back shoulder fade like no one else in this league. I've said that time and time again. We've actually had the discussion within the show in earlier episodes that like it doesn't matter where you're at in the end zone and what height, how big a receiver you are, he can get you the ball to where only you can get it. Now, sometimes he come in a little hot. You better get some hand strength. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I will say Parker, that one kind of I thought that was going to be incomplete purely on how hard he threw that football, and Parker didn't even bobble it, dude. He got the tip right here, had this one on it, and he was slid and got it. I mean, that thing.
I like the slide. The slide was cool. He slid and got right on up.
Wicked cool.
Yeah.
Maybe Eric will actually answer the question, unlike Trevor, of which players do you want to see more of and which players did not impress you. Maybe Eric will actually answer the question on that one.
Well, I wanted to see more Cephas. I wanted to see Cephas. I know what Cephas can do. I've watched him play, and nothing. 3 for 18, something like that. That's it. 3 receptions, 18 yards. Out of 44 snaps? I think he had 44 snaps the whole time. Yeah, 44 snaps. Yeah, 44 snaps.
Ouch.
So I don't know. Huh? No.
Felt like a lot
that was
less
it.
than that.
Yeah. It seemed that way because that's what it was. It was like he was invisible. And so I don't know if he's done enough to make the team. I hope so, at least the practice squad, but it's going to be kind of hard. It's going to be kind of hard. Now, the person that I was really impressed with, I know a lot of people probably missed this, besides his 2 touchdowns, was Evan Ingram. Oh, man, that cat he's going to be something dangerous this year. And the other thing, I was trying to show you in the little clip, I don't know if you paid attention to it, the formation.
Yep.
It's a formation where they have him lined up like a fullback.
I have a question about that later.
That is a genius move, and here's why. As a linebacker or end, you have to respect him and his catching ability. So you just can't come running, tearing it. Now, his blocking needs to be worked on a little bit. He did whiff a couple of times the other night, but that can be fixed. But also, it gives Trevor another option just in case. Gives him extra protection because when he's not out, he's going. But it opens up the lanes, the passing lanes for Trevor as well, because you cannot have him back there in that backfield and not respect his catching ability and his running ability. Not to mention if you got ETN back there too, that's another obligation somebody gonna have to take. So I thought that was very brilliant. I've been yelling for this for years, but they finally figured it out, hopefully. But yeah, I was really impressed with Ingram. Yeah, his blocking needs to be worked on a little bit, but he did all right the other night when he was back there. Let's see, anybody else besides Seafood was the biggest one. Oh, I wanted to see more Big O. I think he didn't get many. Yeah, I don't think he got a lot of reps the other night. But I don't think he really needs any. He has really performed each game and been one of the standout players. So hopefully we keep him. And that's all I have at the moment.
Okay.
I will refine on the question, because when Isaiah turned it to me and he said,
I know. I'm just messing with you.
Oh no, I got you. I got to say this because it is a great question. I am obsessed with seeing more of Brian Thomas Jr. I cannot get enough of the clips and the footage of him running routes against a live defense, because it literally, to me, and I saw somebody actually commented on one of our shorts recently and said this was he's already better than Calvin Ridley. Now, precision route running, Ridley is still one of the premier in the league. I mean, he can cut harder and sharper than anybody. He can cut with anybody. But I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. is what we have in Calvin Ridley last year if he caught the ball. Because we've had this discussion so many times about Calvin Ridley just whiffing, dude.
I think you're asking too much.
Could be. Could be. But you know what? I think when you have someone that has the speed he has and the big playability that he's already shown, because he's already shown the fact that he can get major separation. Like, we're not just talking about like a 1 yard or 2 yard step. We're talking about he could be 5 yard separation. Like, he's shown the ability to do it no matter what route he's running. I think the sky's the limit. I don't think any ask for this guy could be too big. I think what's going to be too big per se is trying to set a number on yards and touchdown receptions and stuff. That might be asking too much. He is a rookie. All I'm asking for, continue the separation you have and just make the catches that we wish Calvin Ridley would have made. And somebody that I don't think really shined as much as I was hoping for, I guess, in this last game, I love Jarian Jones. I have been hyping him up the entire preseason. But this last game, he got caught lacking a few different times. Not like he's not blowing the field apart and he's not getting like torched, but it's like you got to close some of these gaps. Some of this separation, if this is an elite receiver, you're torched for 20 yards. It's over. That comes all back to what you were saying about the level of competition, as you will, whatever. But now I'll turn it to you. Who did you like the most, and who do you want to see like improve, I guess?
Oh, me?
I guess we'll hear from Isaiah, the host. I guess we'll give him a second to talk.
I swear, bro, I am the host, not the speaker. No. So, I'm going to take it a different direction. I think that the ones I'm most impressed with, and it's going to be 3 people actually, but they all play in the same group. Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson, and Miles Cole. I will say Miles Cole reminds me of Trayvon, and I'm not saying that to be the lazy comparison guy who says, "Oh, they ran a similar 40 and they're 6'5" and they're no." Mason Smith played great in the run game. Jordan Jefferson played pretty good in the run game, and he had some pass blocks. They kept double teaming him. It's expected out of a D tackle that lines up in the A gap. It happens. Miles Cole, though, he reminds me of Trayvon in the way that you watch him play, and he's a great run defender. He's actually one of the top-rated rookie run defenders in the preseason. He's graded higher than Travis Gibson in the run game. Sorry, everybody attack me. I don't like Travis Gibson that much. I think he's all right. He's not great. But one thing about Miles Cole that gets me is that every time you see him on a pass rush snap, he either hits a random chop or something and gets around him, or his left arm, because he comes off the right side, he has a tendency to put his left arm straight into the center of the chest of the offensive lineman. And that reminds me of Trayvon, because Trayvon used to come in, even if he was like trying to bend around the edge, he puts his hands right in the center of the chest of the offensive lineman, which can be great when you have 12-foot arms like they do. But then you also give them an opportunity to bounce you back if you don't get enough power on that up top. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these linemen are setting their hooks. They're setting their anchor, and they're not letting you just push them over. Now, Trayvon, it's a different story because I think he's a little more nasty and athletic and stronger than Cole, but I think that those 3 guys really stood out to me. Mason Smith had a couple plays, man. That run play, threw that guard to the ground when the dude got a little off balance and then came in and tackled the running back for a loss. He reminds me of Trayvon in the pass rush game, and I'm going to say that because Trayvon had an issue last year a little bit, but mainly his rookie year, of over pursuing quarterbacks and not breaking down and getting the hands on him. We saw that against Taylor Heineke. He came over the top of him and he went up here, and Heineke just right under him because he's 5'12" or 6'1" or 6 foot or whatever he is. He ducked right underneath him and he got away. It came out. Jordan Smith kept pursuing, almost got him, but he got the ball out. Jordan Jefferson. Anyways, they're football players. They play the game of the football.
No, you meant Jordan Smith, the DN from UAB.
Yeah, of course.
The standout UAB.
He haunts me.
Jordan Smith.
He haunts me to this day. Every Madden league I made, I was like, this guy's my guy. He's going to be the guy. And then here I am talking about Jordan Jefferson and calling him the same name. Vastly different players. For me, though, I think the disappointing side for me, I just, and I hate to say it. I just don't think we got all those reps. And I hate that I did not know Josh Cephas was on the field for like literally 50% of the game. He was on the field at least. And I did not know he was there besides the couple of times we threw to him. And that's really disappointing because we talked very highly of him. I think that the lights may be too big for him, honestly, because we've seen him in practice. We've seen his athletic ability. We know he can run routes. We know he can, get in coverage. We see him in practice. We see him with the hands. I just think that, something's going on in these games where he's matching up against these guys and just cannot for some reason get it through. We'll have to see with him going forward. I think Cooper Hodges, old tugboat, I've been tugging him along for a long time since he came to the Jags, saying I really want him to be the guy. And it looks like Cole Van Lanen's going to be the guy. So not a bad problem to have. Just, Cooper Hodges, hometown kid. I've always, I've liked him since he came in. He has not played up to my expectations this preseason. He's shown us some flashes. I think he still needs some development, though. And the worst part about that is he's an older second-year player. And so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys go move forward. I think every player we mentioned and I mentioned are going to be on the team except for Cephas. I think there's a chance he doesn't make the team. If he doesn't, he's a practice squad player. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I like those big three. And
let me throw a starter out that concerned me a bit. I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. There was like the first or second drive. I think it might have been the first drive in the Falcons game. There was like a 4-play sequence where the Falcons went at Ronald Darby like 4 plays in a row. And the first one, he had a missed tackle, a big missed tackle that went for yards. And then it kind of seemed like they were like, okay, let's go at this guy. Like, are you concerned? Did that concern you at all? Am I overthinking this? That teams would be like, maybe we could pick on this guy. Are you worried that may happen in the regular season?
Oh, it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen because you got Tyson on the other side. So
we were
in their eyes,
the other day.
In their eyes, Darby is the weak link because you can't continue to go after Tyson. Yeah,
and Jarian has shown that with development, he's going to be locked down too.
Right. So he might as well get ready for it because it's going to happen.
Well, he's been getting picked on all preseason too. It's not like this just happened in the Falcons game. Like,
right. Till he can prove that he can hold up. Yeah.
If I've seen a DB getting like folded or cooked or like just absolutely just, it's Darby.
Yeah, DeAndre Prince has looked pretty decent so far in the games. He's graded out at like a 72, 74, somewhere around there over the first 3 games.
He has 75.6% PF.
Oh, yeah. You don't have anything photo memorized in the back of your head. Oh, God. That's like the other day. Somebody at work was like, hey, this says this. And I'm like, what? That was the interest rate, in April of 2021. What are you talking about? And they're like, how do you know that? And I'm like, shut up. We're talking about other things. Like,
don't ask me a question.
I think that they definitely did go after him. I noticed that. There was like a couple play drive, like you said, where they were just going after him. I don't know, man. And I think one thing with him is like he's been good and he's had his flashes. But like over his career, he's never been a 1. He's never really been a 2. And when he was, he's gotten hurt. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up, or if really the contingency plan is, Tyson stays on the field for 90% of the snaps and they rotate in Jarian and Prince and try and give Darby that rest. But yeah, it was a little concerning for me, I'll be honest, seeing him get attacked like that. And, I will say too, I didn't really see much Devin Lloyd.
Don't get me started.
I saw a couple plays and I was like, what are you doing, bro? You're just standing there.
Yeah. And some spots he looked lost. He really did. He looked lost. Because I saw one running play. I'm like, where are you going? Like, okay, he's hesitating for some reason. So I don't know if he's not understanding the scheme yet, or he's having a setback or something. Because I remember I said I wanted to see him. I wanted to see him out there. So yeah, so I did pay attention. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Devin. This has got to be a reason why he hadn't been out there.
And it's easy.
He's been out there. He's been out
buddy.
there. He just hasn't done anything,
Yeah, no, he hasn't done anything, and it's easy to see that, especially with people like Chad Muma and Ventrell Miller and Yasir
all over the
Abdullah
place,
just
right?
Lighting the field up. Not so much Yasir. Yasir's been solid. I'm not hating on what Yasir's been able to do. He just hasn't been blowing the stat board up. You know what I mean? But between Ventrell Miller and Chad Muma, they were electric. Both in almost every opportunity they were given. They were all over the field, flying and playing with purpose. Devin Lloyd, like you say, he looked like a lost kitten. And that was definitely something odd, because we talked about how last year, you think he seemed to be coming into his own last year, even with the thumb cast on,
Right.
You take that thumb cast on, he's probably got 4 or 5 more picks. There was a few that just, hit the cast and doinked off, and he was getting in the play. He was getting in position. Obviously he wasn't a top tier linebacker at that point in time either, but it seemed like he was kind of he got his feet wet. Now he's starting to walk. And then you see this and it's like, oof.
I mean, he was the number 4 ranked run defending linebacker last year in terms of PFF grade. Like he was the number 4 run defending linebacker. He even outgraded he actually outgraded Foye Lucan. Now I think Foye definitely gets the bad end of the stick, and he doesn't get recognized like he should because he's wearing teal and gold. And it's unfortunate. It is, but I think that you can only not recognize greatness for so long. But yeah, I mean, Devin Lloyd kind of frustrated me. I was like, man, we're out here versus the 2s, and I don't know if maybe he's playing slow now and he comes out in the season, it absolutely goes off. He could. I really don't know. I don't know if he's still just trying to fit into the defense, and maybe they're asking him to do something different than what we think. Maybe he is expected. I know he's going to be expected to play more coverage as a middle linebacker in a 4-3 hybrid scheme like this. But I mean, again, I just don't know. I was hoping they were going to play him at like a Sam, let him rotate down a little bit, let him come off the edge, different things, and it's been interesting to see. I don't know what they saw out of him in terms of why they're not playing him in that position like we thought they would. I'm still not super concerned about him, but I will say it was kind of weird this preseason, just not seeing much, Well,
I mean, on the depth chart, I know it said or, but they did have Chad Muma in that first spot. I know it said or, and I know Nielsen said depth charts don't matter to him.
Yeah,
and we saw that because I don't think Yasir Abdullah was ever a Sam linebacker. Like, I don't think we ever saw him line up like in 2-point stance. Whenever he was on the field, he was just playing that like 9 technique out there, like where we used to see the 3-4 edge rushers line up. So that's what that's why I told people right off the bat. I was like, don't get too caught up on the depth chart. But I think it was a little intentional to put Chad Muma first. I don't know. I
will say, I've been quoted on this AFC South show. So the other show, the main show, since I came on and Chad Muma, Devin Lloyd got drafted. I think Chad Muma got the raw end of the deal because he played really well that preseason, and then they just yoinked him out as soon as Lloyd was healthy. And I feel like it hurt his development because he almost never got in after that. And I think Chad Muma is a great player. I think he's got really good instincts, especially in coverage whenever he's had his opportunities, because he started as a safety. People don't know that. He started as a safety. He was a little slower and a little bit bigger. So they said, hey, dude, you're 6'3". Why are you trying to play safety? You're 215, get up to 230, and we'll let you rock. So I think he's a hell of an athlete. I think this this defense is going to do nothing but compliment him. But that is something I've looked at too. I'm like, Muma's looking good. He's getting a lot of reps, man. But I feel like that. I feel like whenever it hits its stride, that Devin Lloyd, Foye, and Muma combo, I think that's going to be a pretty deadly combo when they hit their stride, especially with Trayvon and Josh coming off the edge more frequently and having freaks on the defensive line like Eric Armstead and Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson and Devon Hamilton when he's healthy, man. I mean, when we get everybody on the field together, it's going to be tough for offenses to move the ball on us if everybody can stay healthy. We have such a deep line now. And if y'all have something more on the topic at hand, let me know. But I kind of want to move into the depth chart just a little bit.
Okay, real quick.
Go ahead, Eric.
Real quick.
I don't want to move us on too quick.
Okay, that dang on Shiffer, whatever his name is, he got to go because he was getting abused the other night. The guard. The guard, man.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Scherf.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was getting abused the other night.
I've been
man.
saying
It was-
that. I've been saying that for a
Against
long time.
Tubes.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
all been talking about that. Like Brandon Scherf gets torched way too often.
Right.
I think he's past his prime. It's time for you to go ahead and just
Yeah.
mosey
Move
on
him
out
on
the door,
out now.
big fella.
Especially with Van Lanen playing as good as he has been. And,
Yeah.
Van Lanen can't slide in at either tackle. So we gotta plug him in somewhere. You can't just let somebody playing that good stay on the side.
Okay, let's be honest. When old boy dove down toward Trevor's ankles, who got nervous a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Me.
Absolutely.
Me.
That's
I
right.
said take him out.
Yeah,
Take him out.
see?
Get him out of the game. I don't.
Yep.
Old Gumby.
Get him out. Yeah, and that came
I
right
do gotta
through
say
that.
though, you were dead on with the intentional part about Muma and Lloyd, because if it was just because depth charts don't matter, one would be 1 and the other would be 2, and it wouldn't matter. It's it's intentional to specifically say or.
Mhm.
That was specified.
Mhm.
That was not. Oh, it's just there.
Right.
No, that was specified. Attention to detail is everything, and that was very specified. I do got to ask you though, talking about the linebackers and what you saw from everybody, like, and I think as a defense as a whole, obviously we just let go of Breland Speaks. I do want your opinion on that first of all, and we'll start there.
I mean, the D line room had become too crowded with the play that we saw. Honestly, I'm gonna maybe this transitions to the depth chart, but I think one of the reasons why we saw the Tashawn Gibson trade was because they just, like you said earlier, were just so impressed with Mason Smith. I don't think, and admittedly, I was a guy who, when we first drafted him, I was like, what the hell are we doing? We need offensive line help. Why are we taking Mason Smith when we have a loaded D line room already? And I was a little concerned about that because there was some good value there at offensive line. But then when I watched his LSU film and all of his major plays and highlight plays he made, he played from that 5 technique D end. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. I didn't realize that he was could also play out there. And so I think they might be thinking, we don't need Tashawn Gibson because our DN3 could be Mason Smith. And he legitimately could go out there and play that. Not to mention, like I said about Yasir Abdullah, I think he's more of a D end, even though he was slated as a linebacker. I think where they actually are playing him is on the line of scrimmage. So I think the D line room just got too crowded. So guys like Breland, guys like Tashawn Gibson, they're just we don't. I mean, especially with Tyler Lacey emerging, we just don't have the room here. They were going to have to cut one anyways. So if they were on the fence about cutting Lacey, they were like, you know what? Let's keep Lacey and let's swap. But they, Balky essentially bought a draft pick. So I mean, that was a great move. So I think the D line room just got too crowded, and I think they just really liked what they had in their young guys, and unfortunately, there was some collateral damage there.
Correct.
Yeah, I think personally, and honestly, it's just from what I've seen on the depth chart and what Eric has done in his career, Eric Armstead. I think Eric Armstead is listed as D end. I think that he's going to be that DN3 rotational guy. And I think Miles Cole is also going to get a lot of reps this year. I think that personally, if I'm running this defense, of course, Mason Smith is Eric Armstead when Eric Armstead's contract is over. If we decide not to extend him, which he'll be 34, 35. So I don't expect us to extend him after that. I think they're more planning of moving Eric Armstead outside on certain packages, overloading that front and having Mason Smith, Mason Smith there in Eric Armstead's place and Eric Armstead going out wide. Now, of course, I would love to see Mason Smith play some reps from the 5 too. I think that's something cool about him and Armstead is they're very similarly built players and they have very similar athleticism. But I think that Mason Smith is a little bit more athletic than Armstead, and he's gonna be able to build on that with an NFL training personnel. But I mean, I do agree though. We still have 6 defensive ends on the roster, and I think 7 D tackles right now. And so we gotta get rid of Ledbetter. That's gonna happen. We're probably gonna get rid of who's that other D tackle? Damn it. Oh no.
There's Roy Robertson Harris.
I think that there's a chance Roy Robertson Harris is either moved for a late round draft pick, a 6th or a 7th, or we get rid of him outright and cut him and save some cap, because with how Big O is playing. He's a younger guy we can develop with how Mason Smith was playing. Jordan Jefferson. We got Hamilton back, supposedly fully healthy. We got Eric Armstead, who can play both inside and outside. I mean, they let Roy Robertson Harris play 35, 40 snaps in the last game, in the second game. And we didn't really see much of him last game. At least I didn't notice him. I mean, there's a chance he's potentially on his way out, even though he's played decent for us in these recent years. But at the same time, I can see where they keep him because they're very loyal to Roy. They've had a couple contracts with him now. That's such a weird room for me. And we got to make room somewhere. We have a lot of DBs. We have a lot of defensive linemen. We don't have that many linebackers, so that helps them. We have 11 safeties on the roster. We got to make some cuts somewhere. Of course, Wingard goes to the IR more than likely. I don't know, man.
Gibson, yeah.
And
Gibson, not to jump in.
No, go ahead.
But just to put a little pressure on Trevor and Eric. A little pressure for you here. By the time this podcast goes live, the Jags will have already made their cuts. So keep that in mind as you're making your predictions, because you're on the chopping block here with your predictions. So no pressure, but
No pressure.
keep that in mind.
He let the host talk because the host was talking, and he's like, "Let me not put the pressure on him. We'll let him get it." And then, man, I think offensively though, I think that's something we got to look at as well. I don't think there's any chance that, with Scherf, even though he's been playing bad, I don't think there's any chance he doesn't make the team. We owe him too much money. It doesn't really help us right now in the cap game, so there's no point to really cut him. And he's a good veteran presence. Everybody likes Scherf. There's a couple linemen, though, that could be there on the move, could be getting chopped, could be getting – I will say another disappointing outing from Javon Foster, in my opinion. I wanted to see more from him. I think we already got rid of Keith Sutherland, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we got rid of him. There's a chance Blake Hance or some other guys get the axe, depending on how they think everybody's been playing. Wide receivers, we got 8 or 9 on the roster right now. I'm hearing they like Trammell. I don't think Trammell's really good enough to make the 53, but he could be. Beathard's gone. I don't know why we didn't even see Beathard in that game, so I think he's gone.
He could go to the IR technically.
Yeah, they could
technically.
IR him,
Yeah, and then he could be an emergency quarterback when he comes back. But I don't know, man. These cuts, it's going to be interesting. We've talked about this episode after episode after episode at this point since free agency and since the draft. We have a great problem that we have not had in many years in Jacksonville, where we actually have to make difficult cuts where fans are going to be mad. Not like in previous years where fans are mad over some emotional attachment to some random guy that nobody really cares about, but they saw a couple highlights. Seth Williams being one of those guys. He's gone this year, and I have not heard a peep about it. No one's even mentioned Seth Williams. So I think this is a year, though, where we're going to have guys cut, and people are going to be really upset. Like Travis Gibson, for some reason, already got traded. Everybody's up in flames about it. I don't see the problem. He was outplayed, in my opinion, by DJ Coleman and Miles Cole. At least he was played close enough for the money we're giving him and the amount of value we have. And we want to keep these young guys because they're on good contracts. But yeah, now that I've talked about basically every position and every player, turn it over to you guys. This way. Have a good time.
What?
Hey, listen, man. I appreciate the pressure. We like the pressure around here. You know what I mean? We like those.
Not like we haven't been looking at the roster anyway, trying to figure it out.
Hey, I'll tell you what. We've been having this discussion ongoing. Obviously, I think as every Jaguars news outlet period should be, and I know obviously probably has been for the previous weeks as well. Is as Isaiah said, we have a great problem to have. We haven't had in a long time, but when you go through every one of the rooms on this team, there are still there's still one spot that really concerns me, like one room, and that's the offensive line room. That's obviously, to me, that's the biggest question mark left on the team is how are they going to gel? But like we just talked about the other day, literally this past episode, safeties, as he mentioned, we have like 11 of them. We have way too many safeties. And I have a thing that I say on the show a lot. And it's kind of become a staple of the show is, like one of the staples. We have many, but just one of the staples would be not good enough. Yeah. You're playing just good enough. We've had so many players over the past several years, since 17 at least, that played good enough to stay, but weren't good enough to change the game. Like, you've got players on these teams that are making differences, like that may not be necessarily so-called household name, but like are definitely changing the game. Like, I think his name's Greg Newsome in Cleveland. Before he became a big name, he wasn't even a big name, but he became a big name by just being a guy that could change the game. Like, he just showed up and played. Or it's Newsome Jr. or something. I think it is. I think it's Newsome Jr. He's a corner up there. He's really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
We have 9 active safety. Well, 9 safeties, 2 inactive out of those. So 7 safeties on the roster that can play currently.
Right. Well, and I mean, you think about Antonio Johnson, I don't think has obviously shown that he's ready for the 1 spot. I think he's actually shown that he still needs some more development time. He's shown the worth to stay, obviously. And he's shown the capability of development into the 1, but he's not there yet. Especially when you have a veteran like Terrell Edmonds lighting the field up at the safety position. Again, yes. The competition's kind of lacking that he's playing. But at the same time, knowing where to be is half the battle, and he's always where he's supposed to be. So, I mean, it's a toss-up whether he wins that against elite talent or not, but we'll see. But, I mean, and then you think in the long game, because Doug put a timeline similar to Tashawn Gibson's timeline being gone.
See, forgot about him.
6 weeks.
Oh, 6
or
weeks.
4 weeks. What, 6 weeks total?
6 weeks.
Sorry, yeah.
6 weeks, yeah. I was going to say, I knew it was 6 weeks. Of 6 weeks. And you think about it, like, if they're both coming back at the same time, what the hell are you going to do with them? Because you know what Dewey is. We know who Dewey is. And we know who Tashawn Gibson is. He's a familiar face, and we've been watching him across the nation. Like, we know what he's been doing. It's not like he's completely fallen off. He's definitely still played well. I think the only for sure person at a safety position that we know is a 1 right now is Andre Sisco. Everyone else is still fighting to see who's going to be beside him. And that's the crazy part. It's even through the preseason, they've all played well enough that they're still fighting for that spot.
Right.
They're all still fighting for the spot, which makes that cut so difficult. So I will say, despite the pressure and everybody, wanting to know, like, who do you think's getting cut? Antonio Johnson's obviously staying. Dewey's going to IR, but he wasn't going anywhere, even if he didn't go to IR. I mean, obviously, Dewey is one of the biggest playmakers we had on defense over the last few years. He's not going anywhere. And then you move on to Tashawn Gibson. We don't even know what we've got in him at this current moment. You don't know what he could do at this point in his career. You don't know. Terrell Edmonds. We know that he's really good right now against this competition. We see what he turns out like, but I think he stays. So you think between that's 3 of them other than Sisco. That's 3. And then the list just keeps going on of just people like, what do we even do with you? Because Savage doesn't count. We're moving him to nickel, I think is what they said.
Yeah, nickel.
Yeah, we're moving Savage to nickel. So nickel, I won't even count Savage as a safety.
Although he started at safety the last couple games, but
he's been
right. And I know that was another thing. Yeah, that was another thing. Is like that's where I realized that they also, obviously, of course they would, but if they've also picked up on Antonio Johnson's shortcomings in this preseason and what he hasn't been able to show us, is that they're literally doing exactly what they said they weren't going to do, just to see if he fits our scheme at that position really, really well. And then you move to the cornerback room. Dude, I think that's the one where I don't know that we cut anyone other than Monteric Brown. Because everybody else has shown solid capability of being on the field, especially, or at the very least, a rotational piece to come in and give somebody a breather, and you're not too worried about it getting torched in just 1 play or 2 plays while somebody's taking a breather. Everybody else has shown solid production when they've been on the field. Move down to linebackers. Dude, we just talked about this earlier. Yasir Abdullah is listed, but I don't think he's playing there, so it's hard to make that cut on him there because they're not going to view it that way. They'll kind of view him in the way they're using him, whether he makes it or not. So linebackers specifically, obviously Foye and Devin Lloyd, they're not getting rid of him. We know that. We know Chad Muma at this point, there's no way they're getting rid of him. They've held on to him this long. They keep trying to develop him, and he showed up and showed out this preseason. No way Chad Muma's walking.
Mm-hmm.
And Ventrell Miller's been a stud. How could you cut Ventrell Miller after everything he's done this preseason? Like, he literally has shown out, even with the club, even with the club fist. He's been everywhere, making play after play after play. Like, he was insane. You can't cut Ventrell because at that point, who's left to be depth that's serviceable depth, not just like, yeah, we got a body, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just throw him out there
and still produce. And then you move down to the line. It's like we were talking about this earlier too. It's like Devon Hamilton, Lacey, Jefferson, Smith, Armstead, and then obviously we know Walker and Allen, but those two are. We're not even gonna act like that's a question. Neither are.
Do you think that Josh Allen makes this team? I think he might be a cut candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, he might
practice squad.
Yeah, what about Jordan Davis? Is Jordan Davis making this roster?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know, Isaiah. Is he making the roster?
Yeah.
Who?
But he, you think about it. I'm going to be honest, and it sucks to say this because I love Tyler Lacey is in a resurgence for sure. Like, he's absolutely lighting. He's coming into his own right now. He's doing
my
good.
ears deceive me?
They don't
Is
deceive
Trevor,
you.
I know, right?
Is Trevor? I'm sorry. This is the momentous occasion. Get out pop the champagne. Trevor has been the biggest Tyler Lacey hater on this show. Don't act like you're not. No. Don't act like you're not. You have talked to me about what was Tyler Lacey, or was Tyler Lacey not one of the first candidates of just not good enough? Was he or was he not?
No, Walker Little was the first.
No. I said, was he not one of them? Was he not one of the first?
One of the first.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll say this though, because look at what he was giving us over the past. Like, in the past, like, it's not. He was getting ran through a lot of times,
he played like 50 snaps, and he was graded higher than most of our starters.
I mean, he had his moments.
But then we come to find out too, and then there's a lot of people that flashed. We talked about that. We've had a lot of people that flash, but you got to come all the way into it. And he's coming all the way into it. So I'm giving him his flowers. He's doing it. He's coming into it now. He's showing where those flashes came from, and that you were right to have the view for him. You know,
I was right.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking to you. I ain't talking to you. You stay over there and you're square. All right. I'm not talking to you. All right. But I will say though, he's done really well. But at the end of the day, too, you just brought in Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson. And then you've obviously got Eric Armstead. You've got Devon Hamilton. You got Tyler Lacey. Like, dude, we let go of Adam Gotsis, which, amen.
About time.
Amen.
I will say, Adam Gotsis had some nasty in him.
I still like Gotsis, though. I
love the Gotsis nasty. If you needed a quarterback slammed with all of their body weight by a player, Adam Gotsis was he did not care about the penalty. He reminded me of Jason Babin, the way he used to play. Didn't care about the penalty. He was trying his best to hurt somebody. Not that I like that. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm just saying, if you got a quarterback being a little too, you have a quarterback being a little too cocky, you throw that boy in there, he's going to try and slam him. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave it at that before I get canceled.
But you think about this, though. So, like, we've got pretty good depth there. And I said this a couple weeks ago. It's hard to make cuts there as well because you think these are big men going full strength, full speed every play. They're going to get tired at some point. They're big. You know, it's going to happen. They're going to tire out. You need good, serviceable depth. But it is still 53, you know? So without adding up everybody that we're keeping right now, I'm not keeping a tally at this moment. I'm just, we're just doing a rough cut of like who we, I think the only ones that would be candidates, despite what they've shown on the line, would be Lacey or Hamilton. They'd be the only ones that are like candidates. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying they're the only ones that seem to even be candidates. Like, you look, they just drafted Mason Smith and Jordan Jefferson. Hold on, just hear me out. They just drafted these two, and they've done nothing but show out since they got here on the field and started taking snaps together. You just got Eric Armstead. You just paid him a ton of money. Or not a ton. It was a really good deal. But, dude, like, who's left?
But, okay, I mentioned two names earlier. And I 100%, and, I'm going to let Jags United weigh on this too. But I'm gonna say, let me know if you think the same, Eric, you as well, because it's us against Trevor right now. I have a feeling that Tyler Lacey and Hamilton are safe over Roy Robertson Harrison and Jeremiah Ledbetter.
Oh, dude,
I think
I'd forgot about that. That's my fault because I'm already thinking they're gone. That's my fault. My bad.
I am the GM now.
I want to hear. I want to
Yeah.
hear
Mr. Talk.
from freaking Mr. Talk. Okay, that's
I
a
don't know.
bold name to be coming in here. All right, Mr. Talk. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Lay it on us, because that's a bold proclamation. So let's hear it.
You know how many hours of sleep every player got last night. You know every stat, every number. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it all, right? I don't know. I'll be saying I don't know. Yeah. Man, look, y'all think I have lists and rosters and numbers and everything right here. So I say you ain't really, I really do, but I don't know. I really don't. As we have said before, this is a great problem to have, to where you can look like, I don't know. I mean, you can say Hallett, yeah, everybody know he's a cornerback, he out of here. Maybe Luke Farrell with the emergence of number 81, Seguria, whatever. Nah,
I don't think so.
You don't
Luke
think so?
Farrell's here, man.
They
Farrell-
love
Farrell-
Luke Farrell.
Farrell's
They
too good
love
of a-
Luke Farrell.
Farrell's
Okay.
too good of a blocker.
Yeah, they love Luke Farrell.
I think
They're
Farrell, and
lovely.
I say this all the time, Farrell's one of the most underrated players on the roster, because when we need him, he shows
comes
up,
through.
and that man can block like an O lineman. Well,
Yep.
not ours. He blocks better than our O lineman, but normal, good NFL O lineman, he blocks like
Okay.
them.
All right. What about Dearness Johnson?
He's on the team.
No,
He's on
he's
the
made
team.
the team. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's made the team.
absolutely safe.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
out.
he
Then.
still runs
'Cause we done
angles.
covered everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
I do
I'm
want to
out.
reemphasize, though, by the
You
way,
know.
I completely forgot about Roy Robertson Harris and Ledbetter because I'm already in my mind that they're gone. That's
Because
my
I'm the
fault.
GM, and I said they're
my
gone,
fault.
so you already
Oh,
assume
the
they're
GM.
gone. That's all.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
it.
I'm
No,
the GM.
mainly because they
Suck
haven't
my
done
balkies.
anything that's like, boom, they haven't done anything. So, like, I'm thinking in my mind, I decided this like Friday night, like, you're automatic go. Because every time we're watching a game, especially the last game of the preseason, you're already making those thoughts in your head. Like, if this guy
Right.
doesn't show up, he's gone. You know what I mean? Like, you're already seeing these guys showing up. If this guy doesn't blow them out of the water, he's gone. That's been Ledbetter and Roy Robb for me. And the only thing that I think would keep Roy Robb is just the fact, like you said earlier, they are loyal to him.
They've, this is gonna go out after the depth chart. I would bet a lot of money, and I could be wrong, that Roy Robertson Harris is on the roster.
Oh, I'm assuming he is.
Yeah, I mean, because what they emphasized in this offseason was bringing in veteran presence, and this dude was voted a captain last year. So I know his production isn't there, but there's a lot of young guys on that D line that could get a lot from Roy Robertson Harris there, and he's still massive human. And he didn't produce last year, but in 2022 he was pretty good in 2022,
especially down the stretch.
So I think he's safe. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of guys we didn't mention that I think will get cut. I'm looking at the depth chart right here. We haven't once mentioned Josh Proctor, who's still on the roster. That's an easy cut.
Oh, that's easy.
Trey Flowers. I know people like Trey Flowers.
I've been saying he's gone. Trevor likes him. Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
think
like Trey
Flowers is
Flowers.
gone.
I think he made a couple
he's
good
gone.
plays.
Yeah, I think he's
crazy.
gone.
Yeah,
crazy.
Adrian Amos. I know it's weird they brought him in. But the thing about Tashawn Gibson, I think what's confusing for us is again, they could cut him week 6, but until week 6, they brought in a veteran presence that'll be in the locker room with some young guys that can be this is what it's like to be a pro. This is what it's like to do this. And I think that we've seen they're prioritizing the veteran presence this year, which is a great move, because the only way you have that monumental collapse that you had last year was because you had a bunch of young guys you were trying to develop that didn't know how to rebound from getting their ass kicked by San Francisco. And they didn't know what to do, and it was all downhill from there. And so that's why I think RRH is safe. But that being said, I would not have predicted the Tashawn Gibson trade. So I will probably be wrong about a bunch of things.
Yeah, well, you think the D line, it's like we just talked about. You got so many good names that really, whether they're just loved by the organization or they're just showing the hell out, this is really difficult, especially when you're talking about this core group here. It's just,
I'm okay with Travis Gibson being gone, because I'm an Italian guy. I like me some Joe Gaziano. He's a damn boy. He's been in the league for a couple years. I think and people, the Travis Gibson trade's weird for me, because there is this cult following for him, and he hasn't done anything. Like, he's had decent pass rush grades, but he reminds me of Arden Key a little bit, where he was lucky to be in a scheme where there's players that have good pass rush, and then you put him in on a rotation. You have no film on him. He gets a couple good plays. He has, like, I think he played like 100 something snaps last year, maybe not even that many. Like, it's not like he's been some like game wrecker elsewhere, and he didn't even have a sack for us in the preseason. He's probably the only D lineman just about without a sack this preseason. Like, I don't know why people were so hung up on him. Our young guys played well. I think we still have some veteran presence there. I think, like you were just saying, though, Jags, United, I think that there are a lot of easy cuts. I do think that. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3. We have like 6 tight ends on the roster. We're probably only keeping 3. Murtaugh is still listed as on the roster, but Murtaugh is out for the season, so he'll probably go to the IR.
Right.
We've got Luke Farrell staying, Evan Ingram staying, Brenton Strange is staying. DeGuara may make the roster. I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
He's undersized. While he's played well for us, I don't see him being a very good tight end in the season for us to rotate in, with the fact that we already have 3 and 2 of them can block like an O lineman, and we really don't, and then as much as people don't like to talk about Strange because we didn't use him much, he's still really athletic and has played really well in camp and everything. Sean Bowman, he's probably going to get cut and go to the practice squad, rookie. Josh Peterson's not on the roster, so we
got
don't worry
hurt
about him.
He got
hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
that's what I was going to ask you. If it's between DeGuara and Josh Peterson, week 6, who do you think is going to be on the roster?
Josh Peterson. Josh Peterson.
It better not. Oh, man.
No, but I mean, safety. Amos, I don't see any way that Amos, however you say his name, I don't see any way he makes the roster. I think he played decent when he was in, but you watch him play and he was really trying to not hurt somebody. He was trying to make big hits and make it like he was trying to do something to stay on the roster. He was lowering his head. He actually made contact with like other Jaguars a couple times from trying to like get in last minute on contact and stuff.
Some coaches like that.
Yeah, some do. I'm hoping ours don't.
Yeah.
I like for a player to finish a play. I don't like for you to try and like hit so hard and put your head down that you're then hitting our players that are like for guys that are already, this far off the ground, like bro's down. All right. This isn't some crazy play. One for me, and I've talked about him since we picked him up as an undrafted free agent. I hate that we're not going to have enough room for him. Unless we carry 4 running backs, which I doubt. But I think it's going to be tough there. I think we got Dearness Johnson makes the roster. Travis Etienne, of course, makes the roster. Tank Bigsby makes the roster. I like Jalen Jackson. I think he is a James Robinson with more speed. He doesn't have as good a vision, I would say. But he plays similar. He's 5'9", 216. He's a bowling ball. I don't see him making the roster mainly because I don't think we keep 4 running backs. If we do, Keelan Robinson, is he officially like designated to not return yet? Do we know what's going on with him? It's been a toe injury.
It's just a toe injury. I think they're gonna put him on IR. I really do.
Well,
at least for the first 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, just to see.
I think you're right, but I mean he's gonna be around.
He's definitely gonna be around.
Brightwell's probably gone. I don't see any reason we keep Brightwell. He hasn't looked amazing when he's been in. But we might. We've done weirder things. I think the veteran. I think something that's underrated a little bit now is the veteran allowances on the practice squad, where we used to not have as loose of rules and as many players. So there could be a place for a Brightwell or a Jalen Jackson or different players that might get cut and bring on there, and then they could be elevated at different points if things happen. But there's easy cuts, and then there's the not so easy ones. And we're
and those are the one you want to risk.
Those are the ones you want to risk.
Don't want to, but let's just cross our fingers they make it through so we can get them back, call them right back.
That's like we've been talking about Cooks, Cephas, Tramwell, and Jones. You know? I think they were all clearly in a battle to get that, what we presume to be the last receiving spot, but it's tough, man. It's really tough because I think they obviously know that the talent's there for Cephas. They know it because they've already talked about it. And he did show the ability. He's shown it that he has it. We did say a couple episodes prior, Isaiah said it earlier, the lights probably are a little bright.
Yeah.
You know, it's what it's really seeming like is going on with him. You know, there's no way to tell, but Tramwell has looked good every time after he did something terrible. You know what I mean? Like he did something
But that shows resilience.
It does.
I mean,
it does.
Yeah.
He's Parker Washington minus 20 pounds and a little older.
Yep.
Like he's 5'10", he's 185 pounds.
And he plays like him. He plays like him.
He
too.
plays similar.
Yeah.
He runs good. He's got thick legs for a little guy. It's gonna be tough.
I think that's the problem with both him and Jalen Jackson is like it's a repetitive skill set. Like you have Tank Bigsby. And so it's like Tank Bigsby is ideally your goal line guy. That would be kind of what Jalen Jackson's skill set would be. Trammell is your kick returner, slot receiver to come in behind Kirk or in your 4 wide sets. We have Parker Washington for that. So, like you guys have said, it's a great problem to have, and some team will probably poach them off of our roster. But if you're a good team, that's what happens. It pains us now to potentially lose these guys, but good teams are losing those guys to not good teams. So, from that perspective, it's okay, I think.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about transfer portal?
He's gonna make it, man.
No, I'm not talking about the roster. I'm just talking about what do you think that we've seen from Tim Jones? Because to me,
blocking on special teams.
Blocking on special teams is to me his only.
Even in the run game, you saw him last year. He played a significant amount of snaps. I don't have the PFF pulled up, but you would turn on the tape and there's Tim Jones, and they would put him in. They would put him in on especially like the outside zones and the sweeps. They really trusted him to get outside leverage on defensive players. And if you're going to be the 5th/6th wide receiver, hopefully you're not catching passes, but we're going to put you in these run sets where you're going to blow the defender off the ball. And I think, and he is good on special teams as well, but I think that's what Cooks misses. And even though Cooks did have the touchdown, he only had 2 catches and he had the huge drops. And so I think they look at that position and they're like, all right, we need someone that can cover on special teams because he actually can tackle pretty well for a receiver. And then he can blow a defender off the ball with a block, which ideally your 6 wide receiver can do. Because if you're asking your 6 wide receiver to run crisp routes and catch the ball, you're already in trouble. So I think that's why Tim Jones, I think, gets the little notch over Elijah Cooks.
He played 141 snaps last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about this past episode. I know you weren't with us for that, so I'll kind of give you like a little bit of like up to speed on what we were saying. Was just, we were talking about when it comes down to like, what do you do with the final spot? Do you carry an extra one? Because Tim Jones is your block guy. He catches passes every now and then, but he is your blocking guy. But at the same time, we were lacking that speed, go up and get it receiver consistency because we had it in Ridley. He just wasn't consistent. We were lacking the consistency. We're hoping to see that from BTJ now. But like you want somebody to be able to step in his place as well. And you could see that from a guy like, say, for instance, Cephas. Cephas has that skill set. He did that multiple times throughout his career at UTSA. He was really good at that. So you think, is it worth trying to hold him here in a developmental type role? Because they're also harping really heavily on this year, developing our own guys. They've been quoted saying that many times, like many times. Just develop our own in-house talent. Stop bringing a whole shitload of people in. Bring in veterans to help us develop the young ones. And, they're actually playing that pretty well. Like, credit to Balky. This offseason has been a masterclass, in my opinion. He's done really well this year. Everybody. It's been perfection, in my opinion. Like, he could have done a couple things here and there differently, but everybody could have. But for what we all could have hoped for, he's done really well. But that being said, do you think it's worth, like, maybe potentially making a spot for a guy like Cephas to develop?
No, because they also said at the end of the season that Luke Fortner is a good center. So they doesn't exactly mean everything they say is what they believe because they immediately went and replaced him. And I think you bring up a good point. We did lack that deep down the field threat that we're hoping Brian Thomas Jr. is. But even before we drafted Brian Thomas Jr., we kind of were banking on Gabe Davis being that guy. So now we have 2 guys that I think could do that. So, again, I just think they're really reserving that end of the roster. I mean, every team does. That end of the roster spot has got to help you on special teams or these, like, specific skill sets like run blocking. So, again, could be wrong, but what they've shown us in the past,
you know what?
Not the Jags, but everyone.
That's one thing we haven't talked about, special teams. Because you just can't have the regular special team guys out there anymore, right?
Right.
Because of
Yeah,
the
it all looks
vicinity
different
everybody
now.
is.
Oh, we got
Huh?
Cam Little. We're good. We're good.
Cam Little's a stud, by the
Cam
way.
Little looks real good. Yeah.
We also got to realize too. I mean, on kickoff rule, we got the biggest kicker in the league. Logan Cook at 6'5", what 240. I mean,
That's emergency quarterback to you. Okay, that's emergency quarterback.
My bad.
Yeah.
Emergency quarterback, linebacker, safety. Logan.
He was a high school quarterback.
He was.
I was about to say also, I don't know if you guys have seen him in training camps, just like messing around tossing the ball, but he's actually got a cannon, dude.
Yeah,
Like, he's got an
Logan
arm.
Cook is
yeah.
no joke.
Hey, somebody done picked up on it. We're gonna see a trick play this year with him throwing the ball. I'm calling it now.
I really hope so.
That
Well,
would
all right.
be interesting.
Well,
wouldn't it?
I think we're about at the good stopping point here. Got that hour mark. Talked a lot of great football. Thanks again for coming on, Jags United. We got a little shout out we do around here. Shout out Worm. Worm is Trevor's better half. She is there for every single episode all the way through the end. Again, man, thanks for coming on. Looking forward to the Jaguars football season. It's gonna be a good year, guys. I mean, I'm really excited about it. Which I noticed in the background, and I wanted to ask earlier, but I forgot to. The instruments.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of instruments there. You're a big instrument guy, huh?
Yeah, big musician, and actually,
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Humble brag. I have 3 bedrooms in my house. Okay, all right. So my 3rd bedroom, which is a massive 8x8. Okay, so pretty big.
Duval millionaire over here. I got
big.
you.
That's my just room. So my drums are in that room. So I got the drums there. My strings are over here. I will admit, can't play any brass or wind instruments. So I'm not going to hype myself too much.
Yeah, I'm a singer. I'm not an instrument player. So
nice.
No instruments for me. But sweet, man. Well, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for coming on, you guys. Anything y'all want to say towards y'all's little?
I love it.
Sweet.